Hi, welcome back to Tech Career Japan. I'm Aki from Shift, and today we have guests from Wahl+Case and Bryan, Managing Director from Wahl+Case. Bryan, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Bryan. I am Managing Director at Wahl+Case. Good to be here.
So we're gonna talk about international engineers. What are the current opportunities for those international engineers looking to work in Japan's, especially in tech industry?
There's a lot of opportunities available in Japan for international engineers, tech talent. So I would say probably the most common one we see are developers or software engineers. It's probably the most common ones, including about like backend on the web, backend development, or purely software development, front end, and so on, and various different positions. Yeah, it's pretty broad. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. And I'm also curious, why is Japan appealing place, destination
Sure.
for those international engineers and developers? What do you think?
That's a great question. Japan has a lot of attractive points. So I think not to mention just like the culture and and the soft culture that Japan have, but I think Japan it provides a pretty stable employment status, and the education here is pretty much in order. It's a safe country to live, and I would say the public medical system, insurance, those are very well covered, and doesn't cost you a lot of money, right, to spend. And so overall, there's a lot of positive part about Japan being an attractive destination, and also Japan is probably the most affordable, well-established country, and that's Tokyo, for example, as a capital, is the most affordable location. That is, yeah, you're not going to spend too much money, and still very livable. Yeah, I think those things are very attractive. Recent years, there's high skill working visa that helps individuals to gain their status in Japan, and able to gain permanent residency in 3 years or 5 years, a faster period of time. So that has provided a lot of attractive points for foreigners.
Cool. Thank you very much. So, what are the most effective ways for those international engineers to find job and opportunities in Japan? And are there any specific platforms or network they should use?
Right. There's a lot of ways. I mean, what we do. We're a recruitment company, so we recruit for a lot of like tech companies. But other than us, there's also other options. There's also other recruitment companies available as well. And there are multiple different platform, both for very international, foreign friendly, that's based on English. There's also a lot of network events in Japan. I think it's getting more and more popular. There's international people-based events, and also just purely tech events happening almost weekly. So yeah, so I think there's a lot of opportunity to connect to people. Yeah, but I think like going a lot of time when you're coming from overseas, right? With your first step, it's hard to kind of like navigate what is the options, right? So a lot of time people will reach out to recruitment agency first to start, but then they will start exploring various different options.
Maybe you already kind of mentioned. Can you recommend any, job boards or recruitment agency? Of course, Wahl+Case.
Sure.
And those specialists in tech or IT. and international engineers in Japan?
Yeah. So if we talk about job boards, for example, like LinkedIn is a easy, like it's a social network for job. But in Japan, there's more specific companies such as like Daijob or Career Cross, and there's more like the more modern platforms such as Japan Dev and Tokyo Dev. Those like provide really good opportunities, mainly on the startup, mainly for startup companies. But I think those are really good options to take a look. Yeah, other agencies, I think like you can name all the big ones, like globally there's always Robert Walters, Michael Page. Japan has more. I would say Recruit is a big agency. They do platform as well as they do international, more international or more executive level. So they have various different level. The more Japanese platform probably is too Japanese in a way for foreigners. But I think they're more, let's say, senior services. I think it would be useful for international.
Cool. So how important is like networking, like for international engineers, like trying to like let's say break into Japan's tech industry? Like, what are some ways and they can start building, connections?
Right. I mean, I wouldn't say how important it is, but I think it's really helpful. When you have no network, everything's harder, right? But when you have more connection, people know about your skill set, and just knowing that you are exploring opportunity, there's a possibility of introduction in the tech space. So I definitely think it's really helpful to expand your network and join events. And also, the more event you go to, the more you will figure out what events or what group that fits your desire or your personality more. And I do recommend people to join to explore those opportunities, just because you get to make new friends and then possibly new opportunities. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe it's more like advice from your side. Like, are there any events and like meetups or like, communities, like online, offline, like where like those international engineers can like find and connect with like maybe employer side or like other professional or maybe company side in Japan?
I haven't really been to events like social network event for a while, like offline ones. But there are a few platforms. I think you can explore meetups, right? Of course, the meetup.com like is the very popular one. But there's a platform which is run by CIC. They do a lot of like startup or kind of like introductions events or just events like collaboration about certain specific industries, mostly in the tech space. And I think it's a really good source to sign up on that platform, and you just get constant like newsletters regarding what's upcoming events available. So I think those are good and usually are free to join. So I do recommend those. Other platform, a lot of people running like events and posting from LinkedIn as well. So I definitely think join certain groups on LinkedIn could be helpful as well. Yeah.
That sounds good advice for them.
Could be. I mean, at the end, depending on you, right? Because depending on the person, it's you have to find what's suitable for what you're looking for. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, so what should those international engineers like keep in mind like when they are tailoring their resume or CVs for especially Japanese job market?
I would say for Japan, you definitely want to have more information regarding your job responsibility, the project you've worked on, and what's your achievements. And I think maybe in a different culture that you try to minimize wording on your resume, but I think in Japan it's very critical to actually show examples what you have been able to accomplish and what you worked on in your history. And yeah, you don't want to write a 10-page resume, but I think to write something with let's say within 10 years of working experience, and if those are pretty relevant, you probably want to put enough information on your for your achievements, right? And I think 2 to 3 pages is not a big problem at all. It will be a problem if you don't have enough information, and the company will just screen you out, and you kind of want to avoid that. Yeah, I would say those are kind of like the basic thing Japanese company are looking for, and each company might have different preference, and different position will have different preference, and some company want to see, like for example GitHub or their private work. For creators, they want to see portfolios. So you have to prepare based on what the companies is looking for. But generally, yeah, I think project achievements, skill set are really important to point out.
Right. Yeah. Like
Isn't that
yeah.
same as shift? Yeah.
Yeah, like I was going to talk about this. So yeah, like I said, yeah, like 10 pages is, totally like too much.
Right.
But yeah, when we are screening the resume, like we also look like, like no, okay, let's say judging those candidates by, how they make their resume. Like, if they, summarize their, experience, skill well, like we also think, oh, this candidate is good at, like making documentation,
Right.
all those things. And like I said, for example, if we're, screening project manager candidate, like we want to know like what's kind of project they're, like doing, and like which phase of the developing phase they're, managing or they're involved in, and like what's, the coding language they were using, or like how big the project was, like budget,
Right.
number of people. And if they're a project manager, we also want to know like how many people they are actually, managing, those kind of thing. And yeah, for example, like those, let's say, huge, big Japanese company, like they get a lot of applications from, direct candidate or candidate from agency side. And if, there's, okay, two candidate, and one candidate is writing their experience well, and the other candidate doesn't write their experience well, so we just screen, this candidate out. Yeah, so I would say it's もったいない.
Yeah, definitely. I think, and also I think like as a shift as an IT consulting company, right? That sometimes what you're looking for is different than what maybe a product company is looking for, right? And so a lot of time, depending on the company, is what their business model is, what they're expecting, what they want to see. Yeah, like you say, it's もったいない because some candidate might have really good skill set, but they didn't invest enough time to write a good resume, and ended up being screened out, which is pretty unfortunate. Yeah, and I do think Japanese company cares a lot about the brand name though, on the resume though. So that also helps. Right.
Are there like specific, details or format? Maybe this is something relating to what we just talked. But other specific details or format that Japanese employees expect to see on the engineer's application, maybe something relating to what we talked just now.
I think we kind of covered it, but if more specific, I think again, it depends on the company, but I would usually say like you want to showcase your skill set, right? So here's a project, what skill you used, and then what the size of the project it looks like, and what's the purpose, what's the mission of this job and achievement. As an engineer, you definitely want to make sure your skill set is written there, not just what the job itself. Sometimes some candidate missing, they'll put their skill set as a summary, which is fine, but they're not explaining that in the detail when they're introducing their job. So the project. So I think, like you say, that's more dynamic.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Okay, so the next one is, what can international engineers, expect from the interview process in Japan company? Like, are there any unique aspects like they should be prepared for?
I'm not quite sure, to be honest. I would say because we're in Japan, right? One of the skill set they will be checking is part of the Japanese language ability, depending on the position. Other part is, will this person fit into the company culture? Let's put the technical skill aside, right? I think a lot of companies looking for that. Will this person be able to adjust to Japanese working environment? Even the company, let's say they speak English, but will they be able to adjust that? No matter what, we're in Japan, so there's always going to be the culture, working culture part. And I think one of the biggest things people always talk about is read their room, right? Or read their air. So can this person read that, right? Throughout the interview process. I think that's kind of one thing Japanese company cares quite a lot. Not saying international, overseas in different countries don't care. I think every part of the world cares, but Japan probably slightly more required.
Yeah, like you said, I totally agree with that. And maybe Read thing.
That's a very unique part, right? Read yeah.
Yeah, Read is more like, like summarize like CV for those candidates. So that the company side can know like what's this candidate, like what's, background of, academic background, like job background, like what's kind of, certification or achievement they did. And some of the read show, has a space to write, their like hobby or like what they want to do as their next career, so that company side can look at just like overview of the candidate. So maybe and with picture, like direction is it's more like overview version of CV. And like I said, Japanese speaking level and Japanese reading level. So most of the Japanese company like want to know most likely JLPT. But JLPT is more likely reading.
Right.
Reading kanji thing. Right. And
it's not the best evaluation. But it helps to at least understand a little bit of where they're at.
So and maybe to add on that, I guess some company, Japanese company, like they yeah, they want candidate who work, Japanese company.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't matter in Japan or outside of Japan. Yeah, yeah, and some of the Japanese company only wanna hire those candidate who actually worked in Japan.
Yes, yes. That's a good point. From my perspective, when I see it, I feel that is because it's easier for them to transfer in
Yeah.
their, well, not just the skill set, but actually the culture part, right? Able to fit into the company faster. They don't have to go through the difficulty of adapting to a new culture, a new environment. Um, is that? Do you think that's mainly the case?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, those culture fit,
Yeah.
those things. But yeah, in my opinion, it's also もったいない though. Like,
Another thing I would say, maybe a little bit touching on the interview process. I think the interview process, it's all different based on the company, but I think for technical position, you typically have technical. Let's say it's either a test or a take-home assignment, or live coding, pair programming, all depending on the company. And I think sometimes Japanese company don't do as much of that, or maybe they do a different form. Yeah, I would say like foreign company probably does it more, or multiple different assignment or test. But I think Japan is kind of catching up on that recently.
yeah, right. Well, Japan is so unique.
It is. It is. That's why it's great.
Are there common technical assessment or coding challenges that candidate might face?
Yeah.
And how can they, best prepare for this?
Right. There's a lot of platform various companies use differently. I think it's no secret or not so different compared to the experience outside of Japan. I mean, a lot of companies use LeetCode, HackerRank, Codelity, or they have sometimes forms of their own test, and all depending on the position, right? So I don't think that's too different from other countries. Probably the difference is how often that's being tested depending on the company, right? Maybe smaller companies don't really do it. It's really based on communication. But I would say those are the platform most of the company use in Japan. There is also just live coding, yeah, based on that person's skill set, and then expanding from the actual real life example. So yeah, it all depends.
So then, how important is Japanese proficiency?
Oh yeah. Yes.
When searching a job, as engineers in Japan, and do you think those engineers succeed with just English?
So if you ask me 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I would say there's more opportunity with our Japanese. There's still a lot of opportunity right now with our Japanese, but I think because I think the economy is part of it, and there is a realization in terms of some company that they have to invest a lot more into bringing more global talent that don't speak Japanese. So some companies are a little bit more hesitate to hire completely non-Japanese speakers. Yeah, so it was kind of like the job is increasing, and until 3-4 years ago, it kind of like slowed down, and now it's kind of like steady. It's not as increasing as much, but I think it's an overall impact, not from the economy as well. Yeah, but I do think Japanese helps a lot, right? It gives you more options, more opportunities, and I don't think you have to be perfect. You can, as long as you can communicate on the professional level that for engineer, for example, internal communication level, and people can understand you, I think you'll get a lot more opportunity. And when you speak to a very fluent level, basically there's everything available for you. So in terms of job searching, Japanese is going to help to explore more opportunity. Yeah.
So for those people who's interested in, learning Japanese, are there any specific language skill that would be most beneficial for the job search?
I think other languages are very, very rare. There are companies that are looking for example, like a Mandarin speaker or Korean speakers. Yeah, but those are like really, really rare. So mainly still Japanese or English.
Or English, yeah.
English for Japanese and Japanese for foreigners.
So what skills or experience are currently most in demand for engineers looking to work in Japan? And are there specific programming language or technology that stand out?
Yes, I would say generally you'll get a lot more positions. I guess more availability in Java. Java is still a big language in Japan. When we talk about programming and then JavaScript is probably the most growth in the last years. And I think those are the two main ones. A lot of companies in Japan that are hiring foreigners without Japanese speaking are actually based in Java and JavaScript. So that gives you more opportunity. Other languages, for web related or software related, for web like Go is getting popular. Ruby on Rails is still kind of popular for startup communities, but it's not a big thing as it used to be. And when it comes to software, again, like C language, still very, very important. Especially some of the automotive-related companies that their MATLAB and C language are really important to them. And other than that, I don't want to get into too much on the technical part, but I think the experience in functional programming language actually helps a lot in terms of working in a lot of upcoming startups, if that's something you're interested in. So I would say that's kind of general overview. Maybe that a lot, people I met and when they move to Japan, when they explore opportunity in Japan, they get more surprised that C# or .NET related is not popular here at all. So that's kind of the surprise. Some international talent have. Yeah.
Maybe Japan is unique in that area too. Maybe.
Right. Yeah, I think so. I think we can get into the history of it, but not today.
Okay. So maybe from different perspective question, like what types of roles are Japanese company hiring for international engineers for, and other particular areas of tech where international engineers, talent, in most sought after?
Yeah, the ones I just mentioned actually. So I think more flexible and more opportunity is mostly in the backend side, backend or software development. AI in general is going through a big push in Japan. Machine learning related, those are being pushed. So I think that for international talent looking for tech job in Japan, these area will have more opportunity without Japanese skill set. And since they don't require to meet external clients, customers, that As long as the skill set is good, they are likely to have opportunities here in Japan.
Our company is also like hiring those candidates, but it's mainly for like helping our customers, product, let's say, like, how to say, like expanding to overseas, like to specific country, like yeah, in those I would say timing we need those talent who knows the market of that country and language.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, in that group which is helping those customers, like overseas expanding, yeah, they tend to have those international talent more than any other groups. So yeah, I'd say it's, in my opinion, it's interesting, opportunities for those international engineers.
I definitely think so.
Maybe, yeah, other companies also doing those kind of things, maybe. Yeah. Maybe most out of Wahl+Case client too, maybe.
Right. There are also a few companies do that as well. Yeah, I hope this will continue to increase, right? And well, not, I think because it helps moving talent globally actually helps the world move. So and help companies to grow. I think it's really, those are like exciting movements, and I hope that continue to grow. Yeah.
So, what should foreign engineers know about securing a visa, like to work in Japan? Like, are there any common challenges in the process? I know it's really complicated and it takes a lot of time.
Yeah. I think recently it's getting more. It's not getting harder, but it's getting longer to actually get a working visa. The application is taking 2 months, actually. So it's taking some time. What they need to know, I think they can go to our company website to find out more about it. But first of all, I think you need to secure a job, right? You have to go through an interview process, secure an opportunity in order for you to apply for a visa. There are there's different type of visa. But the first is getting a job and making sure that company is willing to support you.
That's important.
Yeah, and I would say getting a visa in Japan is not difficult comparing to getting a visa in the US. This it's very hard, but and the price is very different, right? Japan, you just need documents from the company. Actually, you can go apply on your own, but yeah, I think that's the most important part, to get a job here first, and then to apply. Other things are you have to make sure that you have a degree, a bachelor degree, or have the like technical school certification that is approved by the Japanese government. Or if you went to school here and you graduated, even it's not a university, but it could be a technical school, then you'll get approval as well. So I would say those are like the bottom line. If you don't have a degree or any of the things I just mentioned, that you need to have 10 years of working experience, that you are able to get approval from all the previous companies you work at, making sure that you have the 10 years working experience and get approved by the Japanese government as well, like the embassies, and then you can apply for a visa. So there are several different ways, but I think those are the very bottom line in order to apply for a visa. Other parts are, yeah, if you're married to a Japanese nationality person, then you can get a spouse visa, right? So those are the things in terms of bottom line.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Like, how do companies typically support international hires, like with vacation, and what should candidates expect in terms of assistance?
Yeah, difficult. That it's generally there are company that supports a relocation package that will provide like kind of an expense for the person to move to Japan. How it's being structured, it depending on the company. It can be a sign-on bonus. It can be just a relocation package. It could be many different form of it. So that's up to the company, but that should be communicated with the potential candidate throughout the process, right, or early stage before they apply to the job. So I would say those are the support the company can provide, and to mention the visa we just talked about. Other than that, something for people to keep in mind, most of the company don't provide temporary housing. So you'll have to try to find on your own, and especially if you joining, I'll say a startup, they really have limited resources. They probably wouldn't be able to support you anything sometimes. So you have to be prepared to have fund on your like saving in order to relocate yourself to Japan. Things to notice that for foreigner to rent apartment in Japan, it can be tricky. As a foreigner, we get a lot of rejections. But and also when you rent a place, you might have to pay a month of deposit and even 1 month of key money, or even 2 months of key money. Sometimes the first payment you'll pay 3 months or even 4 months, depending on the fee of the agency, 3 to 4 months in the first month of the rent, right? So yeah, if you're just, for example, if your rent is 100,000 yen, the first month you have to pay, it could be 500,000 yen, just one time payment or more. So those are pretty hefty money to prepare. So yeah, sometimes it's good to find temporary place or like a monthly mansion kind of things, or like share house. If you're coming by yourself, that could be helpful to set yourself down first and then look for something more permanent after moving.
Okay, the next one is, what are some common mistakes that international engineers make like during the job search in Japan, and how they can avoid them?
The common mistakes I see, or I personally feel, is that they don't do enough research into the company they're applying to. They might just see an opportunity online and they just click on applications. Even though I have done some research, but they might not know exactly what the company is doing. And I think it's really critical to check, to learn a little bit more about the company and what their expectation could be, right? So sometimes you can tailor your resume towards that specific company you're interested in. I have talked to many people in the past that they just apply, but without thinking too much, and that kind of hurt their opportunity, because once you apply and then if you get screened out, not even going to the interview, it's hard to apply again, and you might not be able to apply for another year, depending on the company, 6 months to 1 year, or even more. So I think that's a common mistake a lot of people make. Other thing I think is more, if you speak Japanese, doesn't mean you'll get a job, right? It's kind of related to what I just mentioned. You have to be ready. You have to do research. You have to prepare. And thinking to travel to Japan, enjoy your leisure time in Japan, doesn't mean you will enjoy your work in Japan as a culture-wise. So mentally, you do have to prepare and be really open-minded and able to adapt to different working style, right? It's just like when you go to another country. You want to respect the local culture. You don't want to apply your culture into someone else's country, right? So I think those are the things to keep in mind. It's going to help a lot, and not to make mistakes just based on what you see from outside. Yeah.
Besides what you talked about, like, what's advice would you give to those international engineers, like, who are eager to find a job in Japan, but not, sure about where to start?
I think for any international talent that when they're thinking about Japan, they probably have already done some research, right? They have probably been here, and they are certain level of interest in the culture of Japan, and want to live and experience that lifestyle here. So everything we talk about today, I think will be helpful for everyone to kind of like just kind of prepare themselves. I would say really be open-minded, be open-minded about the differences, right? And someone might be working in a very well-known company somewhere else, right? And then they might have a very good skill set, but doesn't mean they would definitely get a job in Japan. It's all the preparation and the research they put in order to get a job. So just example, I have seen very good engineers fail to get jobs in Japan, not because of their skill set, but sometimes it comes down to their communication, right? And also their understanding of what the role will be. Maybe the roles they're applying to is not going to be as pretty that they're imagining, or I'll say as adaptable as they're imagining. So keep an open mind, and then and research and talk and learn. Like really try to practice many times for the process of the let's say the interview, or just the process of like looking for a job in Japan. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think that's all I wanted to ask. So thank you for your time and coming
Thank you.
here again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.